Mayor Pike, Mayor Stoner, the mayors of Mayberry. To generations of viewers, they were simply part of the comforting streets, the familiar faces, and the gentle rhythm of life in a small North Carolina town. Yet behind the cameras, behind the laughter and the warmth that spilled from every episode of The Andy Griffith Show, there was a presence that Andy Griffith himself never welcomed. One character quietly tested his patience, challenged his creative vision, and lingered in his mind throughout the series' 8-year run. Mayberry was a world built on nostalgia, on simplicity, and on the bonds between its residents. Andy Taylor, the calm and steady sheriff, was meant to guide the town with integrity, humor, and heart. The streets were safe, the families close-knit, and the stories heartwarming. And yet, when a new figure rose to a place of authority above the sheriff, Andy felt the balance tip. It wasn't a co-star feud. It wasn't a personal conflict. It was something subtler, woven into the very fabric of the show. Who was this character that Andy Griffith never wanted in Mayberry, and why did they remain a thorn in his side? Mayberry, North Carolina, was more than a backdrop for television. It was a reflection of Andy Griffith's own childhood in Mount Airy, a town of just over 10,000 residents. Every street, every porch, and every character in The Andy Griffith Show carried echoes of real people he had known, neighbors whose quirks and kindnesses had shaped his understanding of community. The town was small, but it was vivid, a place where life moved with a comforting rhythm, and where the boundaries between public and private blurred in ways that only a close-knit community can achieve. Andy Taylor, the central figure of Mayberry, embodied the calm and measured authority of someone who understood his neighbors intimately. As sheriff and justice of the peace, he maintained the town's order without ever raising his voice, offering guidance instead of judgment. The residents around him were equally memorable: the loyal and anxious Barney Fife, the nurturing Aunt Bee, and a host of townspeople who, despite their eccentricities, were instantly recognizable and relatable. Each character served as a mirror, reflecting the humor, frustrations, and warmth of real small-town life. The success of the show was built on this authenticity. From 1960 to 1968, The Andy Griffith Show held a consistent place in the Nielsen ratings, never dropping below 7th and reaching the #1 spot by the time it ended. Its appeal was not only in its comedy but in the familiarity it offered. Audiences returned week after week, drawn to a world where problems were resolvable, where neighbors cared, and where even the smallest triumphs and failures felt meaningful. Behind the laughter, the show's production was deliberate. Andy Griffith's vision shaped the tone, the pacing, and the characters' interactions. Each storyline, each gentle moral lesson was chosen with care, ensuring that Mayberry felt real, lived in, and enduring. The show earned recognition from peers, with Don Knotts and Frances Bavier winning Emmy Awards for their supporting performances, a testament to the skill and humanity the cast brought to their roles. Yet, Mayberry was not merely a collection of characters and scenarios. It was an invitation to step away from the pressures of the wider world and into a space that felt safe, warm, and consistent. It was a place where viewers could find humor in small misunderstandings, compassion in everyday struggles, and a reminder that life, at its core, could be gentle and good. The streets of Mayberry, though fictional, were anchored in a reality that Andy Griffith knew well, a reality that allowed him to translate the people he had loved and observed into a tapestry that millions of viewers would carry with them long after the cameras stopped rolling. Every detail, from the courthouse to the corner store, contributed to a sense of intimacy. Even when the characters seemed too perfect, their interactions and small imperfections made them human. The show's enduring appeal lay in this balance: familiarity without monotony, warmth without sentimentality, and humor without cruelty. In crafting Mayberry, Andy Griffith created a world that was both nostalgic and alive, a reflection of small-town America filtered through the eyes of someone who had lived it, loved it, and understood it completely. On the surface, The Andy Griffith Show radiated harmony. The streets of Mayberry were quiet, the porches welcoming, and the friendships between characters appeared effortless. Yet behind the cameras, as with any long-running production, tensions sometimes surfaced, though they rarely disturbed the overall rhythm of the show. Andy Griffith, calm and measured in his portrayal of Sheriff Taylor, encountered a few moments of discord with his colleagues, moments that were small in scope but meaningful in understanding the work behind the television magic. Don Knotts, who played Barney Fife, was one of the first to experience this delicate balance. Originally, both actors had signed 5-year contracts, committing to the show for its initial run. When the contracts ended, Don Knotts sought new opportunities, signing a 5-year movie deal with Universal. Andy Griffith, wishing to continue, drafted a new contract that conflicted with Knotts' obligations. This created a professional tension between them, though not a personal feud. In 1965, Jack Burns temporarily stepped in during Knotts' absence, allowing the show to maintain its continuity while respecting the commitments of both actors. Frances Bavier, who portrayed Aunt Bee, presented another challenge. Bavier did not embrace the character assigned to her and occasionally expressed her discomfort with the role. Despite this, Andy visited her in 1989 when she was ill, and she acknowledged the regret of not having a smoother working relationship. Their interactions, both on set and later in life, reflected a respect for professionalism even when personal sentiments did not align perfectly with the roles they were asked to portray. These disagreements, however, were mild and did not compromise the integrity or success of the series. The consistent high ratings, awards, and audience loyalty demonstrate that the show's essence remained intact. Viewers responded to the authenticity and warmth of Mayberry, not the contractual or personal intricacies behind it. Andy Griffith's ability to maintain a level-headed approach ensured that creative challenges were met with solutions rather than conflict. Even in these moments of tension, the focus remained on the town itself. Andy's concern was less about personal disagreements and more about preserving the harmony and believability of Mayberry. The presence of a consistent moral center, embodied in his portrayal of Andy Taylor, allowed the show to absorb minor disputes without impacting the audience's experience. The small conflicts between actors became invisible to viewers, yet they provide a window into the careful orchestration necessary to produce a series that remained beloved for decades. Ultimately, the on-set disagreements highlight the human side of television production. The actors were individuals with careers, ambitions, and perspectives, and navigating these realities required patience, respect, and compromise. Andy Griffith's quiet leadership, his steady temperament, and his dedication to the world he created allowed the show to flourish, maintaining the charm and consistency that made Mayberry feel like home. The audience saw only the seamless interactions, the gentle humor, and the heartfelt moments. Behind the scenes, a careful balance was maintained, ensuring that minor tensions never overshadowed the heart of the story or the integrity of the characters. From the very beginning, Andy Griffith approached The Andy Griffith Show with a clear vision. Mayberry was meant to be a reflection of the small-town world he had known, a place where the sheriff guided the community with calm authority and quiet wisdom. In his early plans for the series, Andy envisioned a broader role for his character, imagining Sheriff Andy Taylor not only as lawman and justice of the peace, but also as newspaper editor and town mayor. This ambitious concept reflected his desire to capture the complexity of small-town life, where responsibilities often overlapped and the lines between professions blurred in a community built on trust and familiarity. As development continued, Griffith made a deliberate decision to narrow Andy Taylor's duties. The focus shifted to sheriff and justice of the peace, roles that allowed him to convey moral authority, humor, and warmth without diluting the character's essence. This decision grounded the show, providing a clear moral center and maintaining a rhythm that audiences could recognize and return to week after week. The simplified structure ensured that Andy Taylor remained the guiding figure in Mayberry, someone who could resolve conflicts, mentor the younger characters, and embody the heart of the town. It was during this process that a creative tension emerged. Sheldon Leonard, the show's producer, observed that the absence of a mayor left a gap in the town's hierarchy. He suggested introducing a mayor character to serve as a boss over Andy Taylor, a figure who could create conflict and provide an additional layer of narrative structure. In the eyes of the production team, this was a practical adjustment, a way to enrich the storytelling and expand the dynamics between the town's officials. For Andy Griffith, however, it challenged his understanding of Mayberry's natural order. Griffith resisted the idea of a mayor who outranked the sheriff. He believed that in a small town, the sheriff held the ultimate authority in matters of law and community guidance. The mayor, while respected, should not undermine the central role of the sheriff. This disagreement became the only significant creative conflict between Griffith and Leonard, a rare moment where vision and practical production needs collided. Andy's argument was rooted in logic, experience, and a deep understanding of the world he was recreating. For him, the sheriff was the anchor of the town, and any character that threatened to displace that anchor disrupted the story's foundation. Despite his reservations, the mayor was added to the show. Andy Griffith did not express personal hostility toward the character or the actors who portrayed the role, but he consistently maintained that a mayor did not belong in a position of authority over Andy Taylor. This subtle but persistent resistance illustrates the care and thought he put into every element of the series. He was not rejecting a colleague or a storyline out of ego, but preserving the integrity of Mayberry, ensuring that the town operated according to the internal logic he had established. This moment highlights a broader truth about the creation of the Andy Griffith Show. Every character, every plotline, every detail of Mayberry was deliberate. Andy Griffith's vision was meticulous, grounded in lived experience and respect for small-town values. The introduction of a mayor, while necessary for certain narrative purposes, remained at odds with his understanding of the town's hierarchy. In this tension, the show found balance, a compromise that allowed creative storytelling to continue while preserving the essential warmth, humor, and moral clarity that defined Mayberry. Ultimately, Andy's resistance to the mayor role was not a personal dispute, but a reflection of his dedication to the authenticity of Mayberry. It shows the quiet determination behind the scenes, the thoughtfulness required to maintain a world that millions of viewers would come to love, and the care with which every character, even those he did not fully embrace, was integrated into the life of the town. The first mayor to appear in Mayberry was Mayor Pike, a figure who carried with him both the authority of office and the echoes of Andy Griffith's own memories. The character was inspired by Floyd Pike, a respected businessman from Griffith's hometown of Mount Airy, North Carolina. Pike's presence in the town was deliberate, a nod to the familiarity and warmth that Griffith drew upon when creating the residents of Mayberry. He was introduced to the series not only as a narrative necessity, but as a reflection of small-town leadership, someone who could represent the civic structure of the community while interacting with the sheriff in ways that highlighted the town's dynamics. Mayor Pike appeared in 11 episodes during the first 2 seasons of The Andy Griffith Show. His first appearance came in the episode The Manhunt, and his final appearance was in The Manicurist. Over these episodes, Pike exercised his minimal authority to guide the town, maintaining a presence that was noticeable yet restrained, a balance that allowed Andy Taylor to remain the true anchor of Mayberry's order. For audiences, the mayor's role added depth to the town's hierarchy, providing context for the sheriff's responsibilities and allowing viewers to understand the interconnectedness of civic duty in a small town. The actor behind Mayor Pike, Dick Elliott, brought a lifetime of experience to the role. Born Richard Damon Elliott on April 30, 1886 in Salem, Massachusetts, he stood 5 feet 4 inches tall and carried a presence that was both authoritative and approachable. Elliott became known for portraying judges, mayors, reporters, policemen, and other authority figures, his face and voice recognizable to audiences even if his name was not immediately remembered. He appeared in over 240 films, making his debut in Central Airport in 1933, and became a regular presence on television in the 1950s, appearing in series such as Dick Tracy, My Little Margie, Adventures of Superman, and I Love Lucy. His career established him as a reliable and familiar figure in both film and television, a steady presence capable of conveying authority with subtle warmth. Mayor Pike's tenure on The Andy Griffith Show was cut short when Dick Elliott died of natural causes in 1961, midway through the second season. His final episode aired 2 months after his passing. The series did not provide an explicit explanation for the character's disappearance, leaving viewers to interpret his absence in their own way. Some assumed he had moved away. Others believed he had passed on. Regardless of the reason, Pike's presence had already left its mark on Mayberry, demonstrating the careful thought put into every character and their role within the town's ecosystem. While Andy Griffith had reservations about the inclusion of a mayor in Mayberry, Mayor Pike was integrated with respect for both the actor and the town's narrative. The character's interactions with Andy Taylor, Barney Fife, and other residents maintained the gentle humor and human warmth that defined the series. Pike's role, though limited in scope, served as a tangible reminder of the civic structure in Mayberry, providing a subtle counterpoint to the sheriff's authority while remaining consistent with the small-town aesthetic Griffith had envisioned. Mayor Pike's presence in Mayberry illustrates the balance between creative vision and production decisions. He was a character added to serve a specific function, yet his portrayal retained the authenticity and intimacy that made the town so memorable. Even in a role that Andy Griffith never fully embraced, the careful crafting of Pike's character reflects the deliberate attention to detail that defined the series. The town of Mayberry, with its streets, residents, and now a mayor, continued to feel real, lived in, and enduring, allowing audiences to return week after week to a world shaped by both memory and artistry. After the passing of Dick Elliott in 1961, Mayberry faced the quiet challenge of introducing a new mayor. The series responded with Mayor Stoner, a character brought to life by Parley Baer. This transition maintained the continuity of civic authority in the town, while allowing the series to explore a slightly different dynamic between the sheriff and the mayor. Mayor Stoner appeared in 7 episodes during the 3rd season, first in Andy and the New Mayor, and last in Rafe Hollister Sinks, marking a clear but brief chapter in Mayberry's history. Mayor Stoner's approach differed from his predecessor. He was stricter, his presence more formal, and his involvement in town affairs more pronounced. In Andy and the New Mayor, his stricter approach to governance created complications for Andy Taylor and Barney Fife, ultimately leading to a poor man being wrongfully convicted for moonshining after a chase that left him stuck in a tree. Through these interactions, the show demonstrated the delicate balance between law enforcement and civic authority, highlighting how different leadership styles could influence the rhythm of small-town life. Despite the tensions created for storytelling purposes, the character remained a part of the warm, familiar fabric that defined Mayberry. Parley Baer, who portrayed Mayor Stoner, brought a wealth of experience to the role. Born in 1914 in Salt Lake City, he cultivated an early interest in acting and pursued theater at the University of Utah after graduating from West High School. Over a 60-year career, Baer appeared in more than 15,000 radio programs, 60 films, and 1,600 television episodes. He was known for roles including Chester in the original production of Gunsmoke, Darby on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and even as one of the Keebler elves. Baer's voice was widely recognizable, perhaps even more than his face, giving his performances an added resonance in both radio and television audiences. Mayor Stoner's role in Mayberry, though brief, reinforced the town's structure while allowing new storylines to emerge. His stricter oversight and occasional interference with Andy and Barney's work underscored the contrast between the sheriff's practical wisdom and the mayor's adherence to rules. The episodes featuring Stoner maintained the series' signature warmth, blending humor with moments of genuine human connection. Viewers saw Mayberry as a town where authority was respected but balanced with empathy, where characters navigated the everyday challenges of community life with care and consideration. Parley Baer passed away on November 22, 1997, at the age of 88, due to complications from a stroke. His legacy in the entertainment industry was expansive, reflecting decades of consistent, dedicated work in radio, film, and television. Within the Andy Griffith Show, Mayor Stoner remained a brief but important figure, bridging the gap after Mayor Pike's departure and ensuring the town's civic life remained complete. The series did not provide an explanation for Stoner's exit, similar to Pike, leaving the town's leadership quietly unresolved at the series' conclusion. Despite Andy Griffith's reservations about mayors having authority over the sheriff, the presence of Mayor Stoner preserved the integrity of the town's hierarchy on screen. His interactions with Andy Taylor and Barney Fife demonstrated the dynamics of governance and small-town life, while his portrayal by Parley Bear contributed to the authenticity and continuity of the series. Through these episodes, the show continued to balance humor, morality, and relatability, keeping the audience engaged and connected to Mayberry, even as the town's leadership changed. Mayor Stoner's tenure serves as a reminder of the care and intention behind the Andy Griffith Show. Every character, every decision, was integrated thoughtfully to maintain the charm and warmth of the town. Even those roles Andy Griffith never fully embraced were handled with respect and purpose, ensuring that Mayberry remained a place that viewers could return to week after week, a small-town world both familiar and enduring. Andy Griffith's resistance to a mayor in Mayberry was rooted in a clear understanding of his town's natural order. For him, Andy Taylor was the anchor of Mayberry, the guiding presence whose calm authority shaped the rhythm of daily life. A mayor, while respected, was not meant to hold power over the sheriff. This principle became the one consistent point of tension between Griffith and the show's producer, Sheldon Leonard, the only disagreement that truly challenged his creative vision. Mayor Pike and later Mayor Stoner were integrated into the series out of necessity, yet Griffith never fully embraced the concept. He maintained that the sheriff should remain the town's central authority, a role that embodied both moral guidance and practical leadership. Even as the mayors interacted with Andy and Barney, creating conflict and driving storylines, the warmth and authenticity of Mayberry endured. This quiet resistance demonstrates the thoughtfulness behind the Andy Griffith Show. Every choice, every character, was guided by Griffith's commitment to the town he created. He welcomed compromise when needed, but he never relinquished the integrity of Andy Taylor's role. In Mayberry, the sheriff remained the steady heart, and even the characters he resisted were woven carefully into the town he loved. The story of Mayberry is, at its core, the story of Andy Griffith's devotion to a town built from memory, care, and understanding. Every street, every resident, every story was shaped by his vision. Yet even in a world so carefully crafted, there were boundaries he could not and would not cross. The mayor, a role he never fully embraced, remained a quiet reminder of his principles, that Andy Taylor, the sheriff, was the moral and practical center of Mayberry. Mayor Pike and Mayor Stoner entered the town, carrying authority, humor, and narrative purpose, yet the heart of the town remained anchored in the calm, measured presence of the sheriff. Through these choices, the series preserved its warmth, its gentle humor, and its human intimacy. Behind the laughter and simplicity, the Andy Griffith Show was a study in balance, compromise without surrender, authority without arrogance, and a dedication to authenticity that endured for decades. Even the elements Griffith resisted were integrated thoughtfully, enhancing the depth of the town without undermining its core. As viewers, we return to Mayberry not just for its stories, but for the steady heart of Andy Taylor. And it leaves us wondering, in a world full of authority and roles, which voices truly guide the communities we cherish. For more emotional stories, check out this video.